Hey guys, I'm Nath Martin, the Whiskey Scribe, and this week I am here in beautiful Byron Bay. While this is a popular holiday spot for surfers, artists and Hollywood stars, I'm here for whiskey. The Highwayman Distillery is holding their Winter Whiskey Feast.
Starting at the Lord Byron Bar, things kicked off with a whiskey-based cocktail on arrival. Made from bacon fat-infused whiskey and maple syrup, this was sensational and I was going to have to ask Dan how he made it later. From the bar, we took a trip to the still room to hear a bit about the journey Dan's still made up many highways before taking up position in Byron Bay. We also went through a bit of the process of making his whiskey, and we even got to experience the decanting of a barrel that will soon be used for a new release of Highwayman whiskey. From here we made our way through the barrel room and onto a whiskey tasting. Now there's a wide selection of small batch whiskies that have been released under the Highwayman label over the years, and you never quite know what you're going to get, other than a dram that is always full flavoured. Dan took us through the tasting of some delicious new Highwayman releases, and while I enjoyed all of them, I have to say my favourite was probably the Vulgar Display of Peaterra. This was a peated whiskey aged 3 years in a single Apera cask. It had a wonderfully sweet, syrupy nose with a bushfire style smoke coming through on the palate, alongside some stewed citrus fruits. In addition to this selection, we were also able to taste from a barrel specifically selected for this event, and even buy a bottle from this barrel which would be drawn upon purchase. Now, as much as I'm happy to feast on whiskey alone, Traeger, who make wood pellet grills, put on an exceptional meaty feast made from locally sourced meats to plate up smoked pulled pork, beef shoulder, wings and more. It all paired really well with the whiskey, so I had to get another glass. For dessert, we had a pecan pie with some incredible parfait and syrup. Everything was all too good. I had to go and find Dan and ask him a few questions.
So we've just done the Winter Whiskey Feast, which was fantastic. What's the origin of it? Because you've done it for a few years now.
I have. For me, it's just combining my favourite things. Incredible food cooked over fire, some beautiful whiskies and some great people coming together over all of those things.
And that was exactly what it was, which was fantastic. What's your favourite whiskey out of the lineup that we had today?
That's a very hard question.
It's asking you to pick a favourite.
My two favourite Highwayman that I've ever created are in the lineup. The latest release, which hasn't even had a public release yet, the Sob Story, which is the first. There's such an emotional connection because it's the first barrel that I've used to age Highwayman whiskey in a Lord Byron rum cask, and that's just crazy flavours going on. And the 3.7.2 Vulgar Display of Peaterra. It's the first 3-year-old single peated cask that I've released, and it's a big whiskey. Yeah.
We spoke about this a little bit briefly too, but you were talking about the cooperages that you're sourcing your barrels from, because you've got, I don't want to say ludicrous because that makes it sound negative, but you've got an amazing selection of barrels in here with such a broad range. So where are you sourcing these barrels from? There's multiple cooperages?
There are 6 different cooperages in Australia, as well as a barrel broker and a connection in the US, connection in France, and a connection in the UK. Then there's also a connection I have in Spain, which I haven't used yet, but I want those sherry casks.
Yeah.
Finally, my last question, because I know you've got the next Winter Whisky Feast to move on to now. Where's the best place for people to get your whiskey?
Direct, www.highwaymanwhiskey.com.au. Straight direct through me. There's only 3 or 4 online bottle shops, a couple of physical bottle shops, and maybe 30 bars and venues around the country that stock it, because it's still 4 years on and 40 plus batches in, it's still selling out, which is definitely not a bad problem, but it's fantastic. One thing as well that I'd really like to say, for me, the Winter Whisky Feast is a fantastic time for myself to collaborate with local chefs, local pastry chefs, local butchers. All of the stuff is 100% local, which is a fantastic way to embrace the community. Traeger, which is a big American company, the biggest smoker sort of company in the world, they make the Rolls-Royce of smokers. Their head office is on the next block for the whole of Australia, so it was a pretty easy collab with them. They sourced all of the meat through Trevor Mead, which is a local butcher. We had that smoked rump cap with chimichurri, we had some pulled pork, we had some chicken wings. The hot sauce that was on the chicken wings was a barrel-aged hot sauce that I did with a local chili company, a hot sauce company called Colt Sauce. Then there was the dessert, which was out of this world. Local bakery called Baker and Daughters in Mullumbimby did a whiskey salted maple pecan pie that then had a beautiful parfait made by the natural ice cream company Wohl, who's in Brunswick Heads. He did a coffee whiskey bay leaf parfait with a burnt maple syrup over the top, and it was
pretty delectable.
Otherworldly, yeah.
And lastly, is there anything else that we should know about coming from you other than SOB, which is about to be released?
I've got lots and lots of things on the go. I'm working on rebranding a new brand, which is a blend of Scotch and Highwayman finished in maple syrup barrels, and a special release I'm doing finished in a coffee cask. So there's some really, really cool things coming up.
Nice.
Just watch social media. For me, big one, Instagram, always Instagram for me. Highwayman Whiskey, and same as Facebook. So.
I'll put all the links in the description video below, but thanks for an amazing event and can't wait to see what comes out next.
Thanks for coming, mate. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Ian.
Cheers.
I loved the whole day, right from the cocktail at the start, which was that bacon fat whiskey infused cocktail.
That was amazing.
Which actually we went back afterwards and had another one, which they've added to. They put a little zest twist to it, which is added to it. Amazing. But I guess what I enjoy the most about whiskey taste in general, and particularly Dan's one, is just getting involved with the person who is making the whiskey and feeling their passion for it. But every time they talk about a whiskey, it amplifies it 10 times to go, it is amazing, you are right, and it does taste amazing, smoky. So yeah, the tasting, I love the tasting. I have a penchant for a smoky whiskey, and the third in that tasting, it was smoky, it was punchy, but it was smooth, it was easy to drink, and talking to Dan or hearing Dan talk about it, it is a niche market here where you can have a whiskey that's maybe in a barrel for 3 or 4 years and it's tasting like one that's been in a barrel for 10 years. And I think what you were talking about earlier on there is, you can get locked in, whiskey is just Scotch, you have to. But there's variations, there's niches, there's you shouldn't get locked into a flavor or a brand, and being open to different whiskies from different areas, I think really is amazing. And I think Dan's whiskies here, Highwayman whiskies, have a little niche market that are going on pretty well.